a blinding flash. Lightning ripped through the sky in an echoing explosion. Caden hung suspended in midair, a defeated figure below him, repeating words of surrender. "Victory is yours, Caden." He was leaving the battlefield, the whispers of the crowd fading behind him. Caden has won again. How many times has this happened? Challenging everyone, always winning. Even the strongest avoid him now. Can't even the awakened withstand his power? A man in a suit offered his hand. "Join us. Be my right hand. We will conquer this world." Another group knelt before him. Caden's eyes snapped open. He was batting playfully at the dangling toy, a confused nervousness flickering in his gaze as he looked back at JW. An awkward silence hung in the air, broken only by the low growl of the monstrous cat, poised to strike. The monster cat lunged, a blur of white fur and black stripes. It snatched the teaser in its powerful jaws, tearing it from JW's grasp. The monster turned and fled, the silly toy clutched in its teeth. Caden watched it go, a strange sense of disconnected sadness washing over him. My body. It moved on its own. JW stared after the retreating monster, a look of dismay on his face. Finally, the monstrous cat spat out the teaser, discarding it like a useless trinket. The streetlights cast long shadows on the quiet street as JW slowly descended the steps. Caden cradled in his arms once more. "You were right," JW murmured. "It was a cat. The way it reacted to the toy..." He peered around a corner. "Why did it look like that, though? Too big to be normal?" "I don't know," Caden replied, his voice still a low rumble. "Maybe the owner didn't skimp on the treats." JW hid back around the corner. "It's gone now. Maybe it stopped chasing us. I think we're safe." "Maybe you're safe," Caden countered, a note of warning in his tone. "But what about everyone else?" JW frowned. "What do you mean?" "It escaped you," Caden said. "What do you think will happen when it finds someone else?" Lounging in the relative safety of JW's arms, Caden continued. "Not many people out this late, but that thing will attack anyone it sees, though they might figure things out faster and just run home." JW clutched his head. "I didn't even think about that." Caden looked up in surprise. "What do you mean?" "The only answer is to run, like we did." JW's face brightened. "Exactly. You saw how fast that thing was. Someone's going to get hurt." "Then call someone." JW slapped his forehead. "Duh, my phone. I left it at home." Caden sighed heavily. "So, we can't do anything." JW's eyes widened with determination. "No, I can fix this." Caden was bewildered. "What are you talking about? Why on earth would you do anything?" The beam of JW's flashlight cut through the darkness. "It's just weird to hear a cat swearing," he said, a strange mix of naivete and concern in his voice. Caden groaned. "What can you do?" "Did you see that thing? Those claws could shred a car." JW's face was resolute. "We still can't just leave it like that." "Why, JW?" Caden asked, his voice laced with exasperation. "Why are you still talking about this? It's not your problem." The boy's serious gaze met Caden's, a look that made the cat's inner turmoil even more profound. He knows he could get hurt, but he still wants to help. He's a softie, Caden thought, a strange mix of annoyance and something akin to recognition. JW frowned. You used to be that cat, didn't you?" he murmured, a hint of sadness in his voice. "So gentle, so affectionate. I don't know why it changed, but I can't just leave it." Caden closed his eyes, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. His irritated voice echoed in the quiet street. "Fine. If you're really going to do something stupid, I'll help you." JW's face lit up with surprise. Caden concentrated. "It's not much," he said, "but I can give you some of my power. Enough to reason with that thing, maybe." JW sat down excitedly. "Really?" Caden shifted away. "Don't get so worked up. It won't last long. A very, very short time." He gestured with a paw. "Come here. Sit down. We need to be on the same level." JW immediately squatted down. Caden raised a paw, touching JW's forehead. A faint blush rose on the boy's cheeks. The cat felt a strange sense of embarrassment. Then, tiny particles of light seemed to explode around Caden. JW's eyes widened in astonishment as a visible power began to coalesce around him, swirling upwards in miniature vortexes. A nearby street lamp exploded with a sharp crack. The energy pulsed outwards, a faint electrical current seeming to run through the very streets. JW's body glowed with an inner light. I can feel it, he exclaimed, looking at his hands, now radiating a soft luminescence. It's overflowing. It's the power of light, Caden said, a note of exhaustion in his voice. JW, marveling at his newfound strength, declared, "Now I can go find that cat." A sharp clicking of claws echoed on the steps behind them. Caden turned sharply. "You don't need to," he said. "It's already here." The monster cat growled, a deep, menacing rumble in its chest. JW instinctively stepped forward. "Stay behind me, Caden. It could be dangerous." Caden smirked. "Stay behind you? Because it's dangerous?" Then something clicked in his mind. He looked at the boy, truly looked at him for the first time. Despite everything, he's calm. Even with borrowed power, a normal person would be terrified standing before that beast. But he's not. "Is this the same cat that came to your house a couple of days ago?" JW asked, his voice surprisingly steady. "Is he crazy?" Caden thought with annoyance. "Does he think that thing understands him?" JW looked at the snarling monster. "It's strange. Haven't seen you for a couple of days." He paused. "What happened to you?" The monster cat's claws flexed, digging into the asphalt. It tensed, ready to spring. The monster cat lunged. JW screamed, a raw, instinctive sound. "What are you doing?" Caden yelled, his voice filled with terror. "Hurry up and hide!" The massive paw, claws extended, flashed inches from JW's face. The boy reacted with lightning speed, his borrowed power surging through him as he abruptly squatted, narrowly avoiding the deadly strike. He gasped, a shaky breath of relief. Caden stared, his feline eyes wide with surprise. Such a fast reaction. The monster cat continued its relentless assault, but JW, imbued with Caden's light, moved with an uncanny agility, dodging each brutal attack. Caden narrowed his eyes, a new thought taking root. He's not just avoiding them by chance. Caden watched their frantic dance, the boy moving with a speed and precision that defied explanation. It was as if JW could anticipate the monster's every lunge, his reactions impossibly swift. Even if his eyes could track the creature's movements, a normal human wouldn't possess that level of reflexive agility. Then, a blinding white light erupted around JW, and Caden understood. The boy wasn't just dodging, he wasn't even relying on the sliver of power Caden had lent him. He was simply avoiding the attacks, moving with an inherent speed. The monster cat swiped and clawed at the empty air, its frustration growing. Finally, a blow connected, sending JW sprawling. JW, winded, thought back to Caden's words. Enough power to reason with it. But it won't last long. He stared at the monstrous feline, a sudden clarity washing over him. He couldn't waste this fleeting chance. He needed to wait for the perfect opening, a decisive moment to end this. And then, it arrived. Another savage attack, narrowly avoided. JW scrambled towards the wall, pushing off with an explosive burst of speed just as the monster's claws grazed his side. Caden watched in astonishment. That wasn't my power. The monster, momentarily losing sight of its agile prey, looked up just in time to see JW hurtling towards it. This kid, he's naturally gifted with speed and agility. Caden realized, a surge of surprised admiration. JW unleashed his own power, a raw, untamed energy crackling around his hands. A sharp crack echoed through the alleyway. "Sorry!" JW yelled, then struck the monster with a force that sent it reeling. A deafening explosion ripped through the narrow space, the air crackling with raw power. JW slumped to the ground, gasping for breath, his gaze fixed on the defeated monster. A strange sadness washed over him. He hadn't wanted to hurt it. Caden approached. I didn't expect you to rush straight into the fight like that," he admitted, a hint of awe in his voice. "Who knew you had that in you?" JW chuckled, a knowing sound. "Think it's dead?" He looked at the unconscious monster. A strange hissing sound emanated from its body. The monster began to shrink, its massive form receding until it resembled a normal-sized cat. I knew it, JW exclaimed, a wave of understanding washing over him. We don't have time for this, Caden interjected, his voice urgent. All that noise. People will be here soon. A swift movement sliced through the air. A man sat down on a railing, perched high on one of the city's antennas, his eyes glued to his phone. Strange, he muttered, his voice low. Why can't this device locate the sample? He sighed, a sound of deep frustration. An hour ago, it was right here. He squeezed the phone until it creaked. Is the device broken? Do I have to awaken the seal myself? I didn't want to risk the bloodhounds, but he closed his eyes. This opportunity, I can't miss it. The experiment could be a success. His eyes snapped open, glowing with an eerie red light. Scarlet tendrils of power emanated from him. Where is the sample? He commanded, his voice resonating with an unnatural force. Return to me, now. Back in JW's apartment, a used first aid kit lay open on the floor. JW sighed in relief, looking at the bandaged ginger cat. I did everything I could, he said softly. Is that okay? Caden nodded. Just stressed, nothing else. But JW leaned closer, his voice filled with concern. Still, maybe we should get you checked by a doctor. Caden bristled. Maybe he was too weak to fully transform into a monster. What if he turns right there in the clinic after treatment? JW conceded, I know, but I'm still worried. As JW began packing the first aid kit, Caden interrupted. Stop fussing, I'll be fine. And even if something does happen, what can you do about it? The ginger cat's gaze drifted to the sleeping form of the former monster cat on the couch. It could very well be him, Caden mused. But who would have thought a cat could turn into something like that? Not just bigger, damn strong too. A normal cat couldn't do that. A sudden thought chilled him. Awakened? Caden, JW called out, a flustered look on his face. Sorry I haven't said anything yet. Been a little busy, with the kitten. Haven't had a chance to, well, where do I even start? This kid is infuriating sometimes, Caden thought. What do you want to say? JW finally took a deep breath. That thing I did when we were fighting the cat? Caden raised a brow. You mean when you moved like lightning? JW nodded, holding his hands out nervously. Please, don't tell anyone about that. He looked down, embarrassed. I don't want people to know I can do that. Caden stared, a touch of incredulity in his voice. You think that rabid cat is going to go around blabbing about your awakened ability? JW looked up, surprised. My awakened ability? Now it was Caden's turn to be surprised. He doesn't know? He's awakened and doesn't even realize it? He sighed, a wave of understanding washing over him. Right, I get it. Rare cases. People who have abilities but don't know they're awakened. JW raised his hand. Master Caden? About awakened. And that super fast thing I did. That's an awakened ability. That's right, Caden confirmed. JW's eyes widened with excitement. So, I'm awakened? Are there others with abilities like mine? Caden chuckled dryly. You're looking at one. JW stared at the ginger cat, his jaw slightly agape. You're awakened? You have abilities? Caden confirmed it, his patience wearing thin. Finally, he snapped, Did you honestly think a normal person could turn into a cat? JW's eyes welled up. Oh. Caden's annoyance faded, replaced by a flicker of concern. What's wrong? They looked at each other in silence. JW wiped his eyes. I always thought I was the only one who was abnormal. A wave of understanding washed over Caden. All this time, the boy had carried this secret, this perceived abnormality, alone. Yeah, Caden said softly, a hint of sadness in his voice. Trying to live a normal life when you're different, without knowing there are others, it's hard. JW clenched his fists. My mom, she even forbade me from using it when she found out. When I was younger, I used it once. I can still remember the way my friends looked at me. He glanced at the flowers in the vase. They called me a monster. Ever since then, I've hidden it, moved around a lot so people wouldn't get suspicious. I'm constantly scared, but I don't talk to Mom about it. Don't want to worry her. What if it's an illness? What if someone saw me? His voice trembled. What if they find out? They'll try to steal me, experiment on me, or just hate me. Caden listened in silence, the boy's raw vulnerability hanging heavy in the air. Tears welled in JW's eyes. There are others, he whispered, a mix of relief and wonder in his voice. Not just you. People with special abilities. I'm not sick. I'm just awakened. Caden turned away, a strange sense of lightness settling within him. Yeah, he admitted quietly. Makes me feel a little better too, in a weird way. An awkward silence filled the room. Tell me about the awakened, JW asked softly. Caden began his explanation. People with special abilities. We call them awakened. We still don't know when or how these abilities started appearing. They can be tied to physical or mental capabilities. Some have telekinesis, others destructive power. Some can focus energy into explosions. So, like superheroes from comics or movies? JW asked, his eyes wide with wonder. Caden chuckled. Maybe kind of similar. He continued. Depending on the ability, they can do different things. My main ability is high-speed movement, but I can do other things related to it. Does it get stronger over time? JW asked. Yeah, Caden replied. At first I could only use it once a day for a second. Now, maybe 3 to 5 seconds. That's all? Caden realized the truth. You've been afraid to use it, haven't you? You haven't developed it at all. He understood the depth of the boy's desperation, the weight of his hidden power. Do all awakened train their abilities? JW asked. Most don't want to get stronger, Caden explained. They can already do whatever they want. JW thoughtfully murmured, I think I'd still want to hide it. You seem like a special case, Caden observed dryly. JW's stomach rumbled loudly. He blushed. Sorry. Didn't have time for dinner. Caden rolled his eyes. We were talking about serious things here. JW stood up quickly. I'll just grab something to eat. He returned with a piece of bread, chewing it hastily. Then, Caden's own stomach let out a loud growl. JW looked at him in surprise, and Caden, for the first time in a long time, felt a genuine wave of embarrassment. JW poured the remaining cat food into the bowl, placing it beside the ginger cat. Eat up, Caden, he said gently. You haven't had anything since dinner either. Caden looked at the offering with a weary sigh. More cat food. JW nudged him playfully. Come on, just endure it. The ginger cat stared at the food for a moment. Then, with a heavy sigh, he began to eat, the hunger finally overriding his distaste. A synchronized crunching filled the quiet room. Just then, a palpable shift in the atmosphere. A scarlet aura, unseen but deeply felt, began to seep into the apartment, a faint hiss accompanying its intrusion. Caden's head snapped towards the windows, his feline senses on high alert. A frown creased his brow. What kind of energy is this? I barely noticed it. I'm still too weak. He watched tensely as the aura enveloped the house, a feeling of wrongness settling in his gut. Abruptly, the former monster cat's eyes snapped open, responding to the alien energy. It leaped from the couch, its white fur bristling, and began to frantically dart around the room, a desperate search for an exit. Finally, it spotted an open window, and without hesitation, it jumped out into the night. Caden and JW stared at the empty window in stunned silence. It just ran away? JW exclaimed, his voice filled with disbelief. Caden's gaze was fixed on the open window, a frown etched on his face. Impossible? How did I miss him going crazy? Was it that strange energy? JW's attention snapped to the window. He moved with sudden purpose, grabbing his cap. I have to find him, he declared, a determined set to his jaw. What if he attacks someone? Caden blocked his path. He was beyond help the first time. Don't stick your nose in this again. He doesn't have the power to become that monster again. But JW's eyes held a stubborn resolve. Then it'll be easier to bring him back. He touched the brim of his cap. It's not just about him. I'm worried about other people, and I don't want him to get hurt either. Caden watched the boy, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. I'm coming with you. JW looked surprised. I'm curious, Caden explained, his voice low, curious about why he became like that. And this ominous energy outside is bothering me. He looked pointedly at JW. Don't misunderstand. I'm coming because I'm worried about you. Thanks, Caden, JW said, a small smile gracing his lips. I feel a lot more confident with you coming. He turned towards the door. Come on, let's go. He glanced back, and, just so you don't misunderstand,